The story begins, my husband said there was no money for milk and told our baby to drink rice water. Before the story begins, please write in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so the Stories with Meaning channel can continue to grow and bring you even more powerful stories. The sharp clinking sound of a metal spoon scraping the bottom of an empty formula can echoed through the narrow, stuffy kitchen. Clink, clink. It wasn't just the sound of metal hitting tin. It was a warning bell, crushing Laura Miller's heart that morning. She tilted the formula can upside down and tapped it desperately, hoping some white powder would fall out. Nothing. Not even enough dust to cloud the water. From the front room came the piercing cry of Ethan, her 1-year-old son. A cry of hunger. Laura closed her eyes, holding back tears, then took a deep breath. She had to face her husband again. The same battle, every morning, draining what little sanity she had left. She walked slowly into the bedroom. Brian Miller stood in front of a large mirror, adjusting the collar of a branded shirt he had bought just last week. The scent of expensive cologne, worth nearly $120, the same as 2 weeks of Laura's grocery budget, filled the room. Brian looked polished, confident, shining. Laura, on the other hand, wore a faded house dress with loose stitching under the arm. "Brian," she called softly, her voice hoarse. He didn't turn around. "What now? Don't tell me you're asking for money again. I've got a headache thinking about office targets." "The baby's milk is gone," she said quietly. "Completely gone. Ethan hasn't had anything this morning." Brian stopped adjusting his collar and stared at her reflection with disdain. "Already gone? I just gave you money for that. What are you doing with it? Pouring it down the drain? You're so wasteful." Laura's chest tightened. "That was 2 weeks ago, and it was only enough for a small can. Ethan is growing. He needs more nutrition. Please, Brian, your child is hungry." Brian snorted, grabbed his blazer. "Just say you can't manage money. Do you think earning money is easy? I work night and day while you stay home doing nothing." Doing nothing? Laura wanted to scream. Raising a baby alone, washing clothes by hand, cleaning the house, cooking with almost no groceries? This is doing nothing to you? Brian slipped on his polished leather shoes. Laura followed him to the porch, her shame long gone. "Please, just leave $10 or even $5 so I can buy sachet milk." She reached for his arm. He slapped her hand away. "Don't touch me. You'll wrinkle my shirt." He pulled out his thick leather wallet. Laura's eyes lit up. Hope. But Brian only opened it briefly, flashing crisp $100 and $50 bills, then snapped it shut. "No small bills," he said coldly. "Big ones are fine. I'll get change at the store." "Nice try. You'll pocket the change for skincare or phone credit." He opened his car door. "Give him sugar water or rice water. Stop being dramatic. People in the old days did that. Their kids survived." The engine roared. Without a goodbye, Brian drove off. Dust hit Laura's face as she stood frozen. Inside, she smashed Ethan's piggy bank. The coins scattered. Total? Less than $2. Not even enough for 1 sachet of formula. Ethan's cry turned hoarse. Laura sat on the cold floor. Her sadness turned dark. Anger. She remembered the phone notification last night. "Thanks for the steak lunch, Boss Brian." Steak worth hundreds of dollars, while his baby drank rice water. Laura wiped her tears and stood up. "If you say you don't have cash," she whispered, "then I'll come get it, from where you are." She slung a worn tote bag over her shoulder and carried Ethan. She had no bus money.
The office was 3 miles in downtown Chicago. She walked. Before leaving, she boiled rice water, thick, cloudy, tasteless. She poured it into Ethan's bottle, hands shaking. "Please drink a little, sweetheart, just to ease your hunger." He tried, then cried. Her tears fell onto his cheeks. Eventually, hunger won. When Ethan fell asleep, Laura picked up her cracked old phone. Brian was online. Accidentally, she tapped his status. Her blood ran cold. A selfie. Inside his car, a Starbucks latte in his hand and a croissant beside it. Caption: "Morning coffee before the executive meeting. Hard work brings blessings." Laura knew the price. Almost $15. The same as she begged for her baby's milk. Her husband didn't lack money. He lacked a heart. "If you can spend money on coffee for pride," she whispered, "then I'll destroy that pride today." She opened her closet. Her best outfit? A faded floral dress. But today, it would be enough.
What remained in her closet were only loose house dresses and oversized t-shirts. Laura stared at her reflection in the wardrobe mirror. Her face looked dull, untouched by makeup. Her lips were pale and cracked. Her hair was tied carelessly with a rubber band taken from a takeout rice package. She looked like a housemaid, not the wife of a well-dressed senior corporate staff member like Brian. "So be it," she muttered, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. Let everyone see. Let his coworkers see. The wife of the successful, pious Brian Miller looks like a beggar. She grabbed the baby bag, its strap held together with a safety pin. Inside, she put the bottle of rice water, one spare diaper, and her empty wallet. She carried Ethan using a worn batik sling, her late mother's heirloom. Laura stepped out of the house and locked the door with steady hands. At 9 a.m., the sun was already burning. The asphalt reflected waves of heat. The distance to the main road where public transport passed was almost half a mile. From there, she would still need 2 transfers to reach the elite business district of downtown Chicago. She didn't care. Wearing thin flip-flops, she began walking on the scorching road. Every step carried a mix of prayer and vengeance. She didn't know what would happen there, but one thing she was certain of. Today, Brian would not enjoy his expensive coffee in peace. After walking a short distance, she stopped at a busy intersection. A sight caught her attention. One that would later become the key to opening Pandora's box of her marriage. An elderly beggar woman sat cross-legged in front of a modern convenience store. Her clothes were torn and dirty, her hand stretched out toward shoppers carrying full bags. What stopped Laura wasn't the woman's poverty, but the way an employee came out and harshly chased her away. "Not here, ma'am. You're ruining the view. Go somewhere else." The employee splashed leftover mop water onto the sidewalk, nearly hitting the woman's feet. Laura swallowed hard. Her heart raced. A horrifying thought crossed her mind. Will I be chased away like that by my husband's office security? She looked down at herself. Thin flip-flops, a faded house dress covered by an old jacket, a baby sling. In the eyes of wealthy people, she wasn't much different from that beggar. But Ethan's soft cry in the heat pulled her back. Fear lost to a mother's instinct. Laura strengthened her resolve and walked past the convenience store toward the bus stop. While waiting for transportation that never seemed to come, she opened her cracked phone again. She couldn't hold it in. With trembling fingers, she typed, "Laura, Brian, I saw your status. You can buy coffee and bread worth almost $15, but your child at home is drinking rice water. Where is your conscience?" The double gray check marks turned blue instantly. Brian was holding his phone. The typing indicator lingered. Laura held her breath. Brian. Oh my God, Laura, you really don't understand anything. I'm working. That coffee is for client lobbying. I need to look classy so clients trust the company. If I look like a bum, no one will work with me. You only know how to ask for money, but you never support your husband's career. Tears fell onto Laura's screen. No apology. Only blame. This was Brian's specialty, twisting reality until she felt guilty for asking for her child's right. Laura. But Brian, the money you spent on style could buy a can of milk. Please transfer it now. I'm not asking for much. Brian. Don't push me. Are you a disobedient wife now? Daring to control your husband's money? You should reflect on yourself. Other wives help their husbands earn more, selling cakes, anything. All you do is nag and embarrass me. Don't disturb my meeting. His profile picture disappeared. She tried to reply. Only one checkmark appeared. He blocked her. Laura collapsed onto the rusty bench at the bus stop. Her chest felt crushed, as if a massive stone pressed on her lungs. Disobedient, she whispered. I'm called disobedient for asking milk for my child. A worn blue minibus stopped in front of her. Black exhaust smoke billowed out, making Ethan cough. She climbed in quickly and sat in the back corner. The vehicle was overcrowded, hot, stinking of sweat and gasoline. Throughout the ride, Laura held Ethan tightly, protecting him from the jolts of potholes. Brian's words replayed in her head like a broken tape. You only embarrass me. Fine, Brian, she thought bitterly. If I embarrass you in private messages, then I'll embarrass you in real life. The torturous 1-hour ride finally ended. Laura stepped into the Golden Triangle business district of Chicago. Glass skyscrapers towered above her, reflecting blinding sunlight. Well-dressed people rushed by, absorbed in their glittering world. Laura stood on the sidewalk, painfully out of place. Like a stain on white silk. Brian's office building stood across the wide avenue. A tall structure with a grand marble lobby. She began crossing when the pedestrian light turned green. 2 steps in, she screamed. In the middle of the crosswalk, an elderly woman, far more ragged than Laura, fell while trying to retrieve her cane. The pedestrian light blinked rapidly. Cars honked impatiently. Move, Grandma, you want to die? A motorcyclist shouted. The woman trembled, unable to stand. No well-dressed passerby helped. They avoided her, as if poverty were contagious. The light turned red. Cars surged forward. The old woman froze, directly in the path of a speeding black sedan. Laura didn't think. Watch out! She ran. Holding Ethan tightly with her left arm, she grabbed the old woman with her right. Screech! The sedan stopped just inches from Laura's waist. The driver, a young man in a tie, leaned out furious. You are blind. If you want to die, don't drag others with you. Damn beggars. He sped off, leaving choking smoke. Laura said nothing. She helped the old woman to the sidewalk. Her legs felt like jelly. Are you okay, ma'am? Are you hurt? She asked hoarsely. She knelt, ignoring the dust on her dress, gently cleaning the dirt from the woman's clothes. The woman wore a dirty shawl, her gray hair sticking out messily. I was scared, dear, she whispered. Her sharp eyes studied Laura deeply, then shifted to the baby. I'm sorry. Because of you, you almost got hurt. Laura shook her head. It's okay. What matters is you're safe.
The woman looked at Laura's appearance, then at the bottle in her bag. "Your husband works in that building?" she asked softly. "Yes," Laura said softly. "He's a senior marketing executive." Silence. A strange glint appeared in the old woman's eyes. Rich husband, fancy building, but the wife walks in flip-flops and the baby drinks rice water. Laura broke down. "He has many expenses," she whispered. "I came here to ask for money for milk." The old woman touched her hand. "I'm thirsty," she said suddenly. Laura handed her a reused water bottle. The woman drank deeply. "You're kind," she said quietly. As Laura stood to leave, the old woman gripped her arm. "I'm coming with you." Laura froze. "To the lobby." "Don't," Laura pleaded. "Security is harsh. You'll be chased away." "I can't walk alone. You said you help people." Laura hesitated, then nodded. "All right, I'll help, but let me talk if they get angry." The old woman smiled faintly. "I'll be a good spectator." Laura held Ethan close, and with her other arm supported the mysterious old woman, walking straight toward the building where Brian Miller sat sipping his expensive coffee.
Supporting the old woman, Laura crossed the street toward the towering gates of luxury. Two women from different generations, both dressed in worn-out clothes, stepped onto the grounds of the glass-covered elite office complex. The contrast was striking. Around them, shiny luxury cars dropped off passengers in sleek suits, fragrant with expensive cologne. Meanwhile, Laura and the old woman shuffled forward like dark stains on a flawless white marble floor. Laura's heart pounded as they approached the automatic glass doors of the main lobby. Through the glass, she saw several security guards in black uniforms standing alert. Their eyes locked onto Laura and the old woman immediately. Sharp stares, degrading stares, predatory stares, like beasts spotting prey that had wandered into forbidden territory. "Get ready, ma'am. Hold my hand tightly." Cold air from massive air conditioning units slapped Laura's skin as the doors slid open. It felt like stepping into another world. Outside was heat, dust, and cruelty. Inside smelled of calming lavender aromatherapy. The marble floor gleamed like a mirror. The silence felt heavy and authoritative. Then, slap, slap. The sound of Laura's thin flip-flops and the tapping of the old woman's wooden cane shattered the stillness. "Stop! Hetty, stop!" Two large security guards near the reception desk rushed over, hands raised as if blocking a disease. "Where do you think you're going? Wrong place, ma'am. Social services isn't here," barked one of them. His name tag read Herman. His eyes scanned Laura and the old woman from head to toe with undisguised disgust. Laura tightened her hold on Ethan, who began to stir from the cold. She straightened her back, clinging to the last scraps of dignity she had. "Excuse me, sir. I'm not here to beg. I'm here to meet my husband," Laura said politely but firmly. Herman and his partner exchanged glances and snorted. "Your husband works here?" Herman gestured at the grand lobby. "Don't daydream, lady. This place is full of executives, no junk collectors or porters." Laura's blood boiled. "My husband works here. His name is Brian Miller. He's a senior marketing executive on the 7th floor." Herman's laughter stopped. He frowned, clearly trying to recall the name. Before he could respond, the sharp click of high heels approached. A young woman with heavy makeup and a tight uniform accentuating her curves stepped out from behind the reception desk. "What's all this noise, Herman?" she complained, waving her hand in front of her nose. "The smell reaches my desk." She squinted at Laura. This was Jessica,
the receptionist. "There's a homeless woman claiming to be Mr. Miller's wife," Herman reported with a grin. Jessica's eyes widened. Then she laughed mockingly. "Mr. Miller's wife? You're hallucinating. He's polished, classy, always smells good. His watch alone costs a fortune. And this is his wife? You look like a flooded housemaid." "Watch your mouth," Laura snapped, her emotions ignited. "I am his wife. I'm here for an urgent matter." "Oh, please," Jessica cut in sharply. "Classic scam, begging for money. And who's that?" she sneered at the old woman. "A witch grandma? What is this, a circus parade?" "Herman, drag them out. This is embarrassing if clients see them." Herman stepped forward and grabbed Laura's upper arm tightly. "Get out before I call the police." "Let go! You're hurting me!" Laura struggled. Ethan burst into loud cries echoing throughout the acoustically perfect lobby. "Ow! That hurts!" the old woman whimpered. Herman shoved her shoulder back as well. Seeing the old woman pushed, Laura exploded. She yanked her arm free and shielded the old woman with her body. "Don't touch the elderly," Laura shouted, her voice shaking violently. "You can insult me for being poor, you can mock my clothes, but never hurt an old woman or my child. Call Brian, now. Tell him Laura is here. If I raise my voice any louder, the entire building will hear." Herman hesitated, but Jessica scoffed louder. "Oh, threatening now, country woman. Do you really think Mr. Miller wants to see you like this? He'd puke just looking at you. You should know, Mr. Miller has high tastes, not trash leftovers like you." The words struck Laura hard. High tastes. Did Jessica know something about Brian that Laura didn't? As Herman prepared to grab Laura again, ding! The elevator doors at the far end of the lobby slid open. A group of well-dressed men stepped out, laughing and holding documents. In the middle of them was a man Laura knew all too well. Brian. He was laughing freely, patting a colleague's shoulder, happy, carefree. Jessica saw him. Herman turned pale. There's Mr. Miller," Herman panicked. "Sir, there's a crazy woman claiming to be your wife." Brian stopped. He turned toward the commotion. The smile vanished instantly. Horror flooded his face when his eyes met Laura's. He saw his disheveled wife, his crying baby, and a ragged old beggar on full display in his prestigious office lobby. Laura stared at him, stunned. "Brian," she called softly, her voice echoing in the sudden silence. Brian didn't answer. His jaw tightened. His eyes burned with rage. Not concern. Not worry. He strode towards them, fists clenched. "Trouble," the old woman whispered calmly into Laura's ear. Brian grabbed Laura's arm harshly. "Are you insane? Why are you here with this circus? Trying to destroy my career?" Laura winced in pain. "It hurts. Let go. I just need milk money. Ethan is hungry. He's been drinking rice water all morning." "Brian?" a deep voice interrupted. One of his colleagues stepped closer. "Who is this? She seems very familiar." Laura's heart raced with hope. "This is it. Just admit it." She looked at Brian pleadingly. But Brian laughed, a hollow, forced laugh. "Wife? No way, bro," he said loudly. "Do you think my standards are this low?" He pointed at his head, making a circling gesture. "She's my mother's former housemaid from the country. Poor thing, lost her mind after her husband left her. She likes pretending she's related to rich people. Laura's world collapsed. Not
Supporting the old woman, Laura crossed the street toward the towering gates of luxury. Two women from different generations, both dressed in worn-out clothes, stepped onto the grounds of the glass-covered elite office complex. The contrast was striking. Around them, shiny luxury cars dropped off passengers in sleek suits, fragrant with expensive cologne. Meanwhile, Laura and the old woman shuffled forward like dark stains on a flawless white marble floor. Laura's heart pounded as they approached the automatic glass doors of the main lobby. Through the glass, she saw several security guards in black uniforms standing alert. Their eyes locked onto Laura and the old woman immediately. Sharp stares, degrading stares, predatory stares, like beasts spotting prey that had wandered into forbidden territory. "Get ready, ma'am. Hold my hand tightly." Cold air from massive air conditioning units slapped Laura's skin as the doors slid open. It felt like stepping into another world. Outside was heat, dust, and cruelty. Inside smelled of calming lavender aromatherapy. The marble floor gleamed like a mirror. The silence felt heavy and authoritative. Then, slap, slap. The sound of Laura's thin flip-flops and the tapping of the old woman's wooden cane shattered the stillness. "Stop! Hey, stop!" Two large security guards near the reception desk rushed over, hands raised as if blocking a disease. "Where do you think you're going? Wrong place, ma'am. Social services isn't here," barked one of them. His name tag read Herman. His eyes scanned Laura and the old woman from head to toe with undisguised disgust. Laura tightened her hold on Ethan, who began to stir from the cold. She straightened her back, clinging to the last scraps of dignity she had. "Excuse me, sir."
Her sharp eyes stared straight at Brian. There was no fear in them, only a strange glint that sent a chill down anyone's spine if they looked closely. "Watch your mouth, boy," the old woman said calmly. "Sometimes the trash you throw away is worth far more than the fake diamonds you're wearing." "Enough with the nonsense," Brian snapped, stepping forward as if to shove her. Suddenly, his phone rang loudly. Brian glanced at the screen. The fury on his face instantly turned into panic. Damn it, the CEO is already in the meeting room. He impatiently slammed his finger against the service elevator button. When the dull steel doors slid open, he shoved Laura and Ethan inside roughly. "Get in. Stay in here until I say so. Wait until my meeting is over, then I'll deal with you." He leaned closer, his voice low and threatening. "And if you even think about going back to the lobby, I'll divorce you, Laura." The words echoed like a gunshot. "I'll divorce you." Brian pressed random buttons on the panel to force the doors shut, then ran toward the main elevators to catch his meeting, leaving his wife and child locked inside the suffocating service elevator. Boom. Silence. Only the hum of the old machine remained, mixed with Laura's sobs. She collapsed onto the cold elevator floor, clutching Ethan tightly. Her dignity was gone. Her hope. Her love. Her husband had just called her a crazy maid and threatened divorce simply because she asked for milk for their child. "Enough, my dear, don't cry," the old woman said softly. "Your tears are far too expensive for a man like that." Laura looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "Where are we going, Grandma? The elevator isn't moving," she whispered nervously. "Brian only pressed the door close button." The old woman smiled faintly and stepped toward the control panel. Her wrinkled fingers did not press G for ground or B for basement. With calm authority, she pressed 7, the top floor, the executive floor. Laura's eyes widened. "Grandma, no! That's where the executives are. That's where Brian's meeting is. We'll be thrown out." She tried to stand and stop her, but the old woman turned. The change was terrifying. No longer the frail, confused elderly woman, her posture straightened, her presence radiated power. "That is exactly the point," she said coldly. "Your husband said you embarrass him. Now let's see who will truly be embarrassed today." The elevator jolted and began to rise, carrying Laura, Ethan, and the true owner of the company toward judgment. The elevator slowed. Ding! The doors slid open. Laura held her breath. Instead of a grimy hallway, a wide corridor stretched before them, covered in deep maroon carpet, walls adorned with gold-framed abstract art, the air rich with sandalwood. This was the floor of gods, where million-dollar decisions were made. "Grandma, let's just go home. I'm scared." Her hands trembled as she clutched the hem of the old woman's worn clothes. The old woman turned, her eyes sharp as an eagle's. "Lift your head, Laura," she said firmly. "You are not a thief. You are a lawful wife demanding your child's rights. Never bow before men who live off your sacrifice or husbands who feed on your suffering." Those words sent a strange courage through Laura's veins. The old woman stepped out first. Her once frail, limping walk now looked steady, almost commanding. Laura followed, holding Ethan, who had fallen asleep again. At the end of the corridor stood the executive reception desk, empty. The old woman continued walking straight toward a massive double door made of solid oak with frosted glass panels. Beside it, a large clear glass wall revealed the room inside. Laura peeked, and her heart nearly stopped. The main boardroom. Around the long table sat 10 powerful men and women in formal suits. At the head of the room stood Brian, confident, smiling, holding a laser pointer as rising graphs filled the screen behind him. He looked like a king celebrating victory. Nothing like the miserly husband who screamed at her over baby milk that morning. "Look at him," the old woman whispered coldly, smiling while his child drinks rice water. Laura's fear slowly transformed into disgust. Suddenly, a young woman in a tight pencil skirt rushed out from the pantry carrying a tray of coffee cups. She froze when she saw Laura and the old woman. "Hey, who are you? How did you get up here?" she hissed, panicked. "This is a restricted area. Security!" She reached out to grab the old woman's arm, but the old woman swatted her hand away with surprising speed. "Step aside." Before the secretary could react, the old woman turned the handle. Click. The door was unlocked. With one firm push, the heavy oak doors swung open. Cold air spilled out. Silence crashed over the room. Brian stopped mid-sentence. His confident smile vanished as his eyes met Laura's sheer horror. 10 pairs of executive eyes turned toward the door. There stood Laura, wearing worn clothes, holding a baby, and beside her, an old woman dressed like a homeless beggar. The contrast was brutal. "Laura," Brian whispered. Then his face flushed red with rage. He slammed the laser pointer onto the table. Crack! It snapped in two. "You ungrateful woman!" Brian shouted, charging forward. "I told you to wait downstairs. Are you insane? You're trying to destroy me!" He grabbed Laura's shoulders and shoved her backward into the doorframe. Ethan woke up screaming. "Mr. Brian, what is going on here?" One of the directors stood, clearly offended. Brian turned to them, panicked. "I'm sorry, sir. This is the crazy woman I told you about. She slipped past security. I'll remove her immediately." He raised his hand, ready to slap Laura. "Get out or I'll drag you myself." Enough. One word. Calm. Heavy. Absolute. The old woman stepped forward and slammed her wooden cane onto the marble floor. "Brian," she said coolly, lifting her chin.
Who exactly are you trying to throw out of this room? Brian sneered. You again, you filthy old beggar! How dare you dirty my office? Security! He screamed hysterically. No one moved. Silence. Laura looked around in terror and saw something impossible. The executives were pale, frozen, their eyes locked not at Brian, but at the old woman. The CEO at the end of the table slowly stood, trembling. Brian, unaware of the shift, shoved the old woman hard. Get out or I'll kick you. Skirk! Chairs scraped loudly. All 10 executives stood at once. Shut up, Brian, the CEO roared, his face drenched in cold sweat. Brian froze. The executives rushed forward and bowed deeply, 90 degrees. To the chairwoman, "Good afternoon, Mrs. Doris Hale." Brian's world stopped. Time froze. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He looked at the CEO, then at the old woman, then back again. This is a joke, right? A prank? Some kind of test? Close your mouth, Brian, the CEO said without lifting his bowed head. She is Mrs. Doris Hale, the sole owner of the holding company that owns this corporation. She pays me, she pays the board, and she pays you.
Brian's knees turned to jelly. He staggered backward, his leg hitting the chair he had occupied moments earlier. His eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the old woman, Mrs. Doris Hale, who slowly straightened her back. It was surreal. The hunched, fragile figure he had seen begging by the roadside now stood perfectly upright. The aura of a street beggar evaporated instantly, replaced by the natural authority of a matriarch accustomed to commanding thousands of employees, without silk dresses or diamond jewelry. Her presence alone made everyone in the room feel small. Mrs. Doris Hale did not respond to Brian's denial. She did not even look at him anymore. With calm steps, she walked past the still bowing board members toward the largest black leather chair at the head of the table, the seat that had remained empty all this time. She sat down heavily on the throne of power, resting her worn wooden cane against the polished mahogany table. The scene was surreal. An old woman in shabby clothes seated at the pinnacle of authority, surrounded by terrified executives in tailored suits. "Laura," Mrs. Hale called softly. Laura flinched. She was still standing frozen near the door, clutching Ethan tightly. Her body trembled, not from fear of Brian anymore, but from shock at realizing who she had just helped cross the street. "Come here, dear. Sit next to me." Mrs. Hale patted the empty chair to her right, the seat meant for the chief financial officer. Understanding the signal, the CFO immediately moved aside. Laura stepped forward hesitantly. She felt filthy sitting on the plush chair in her worn dress and flip-flops, but Mrs. Hale's warm smile steadied her. Once Laura sat down, Brian, still standing stiffly at the far end of the table, looked like a defendant awaiting sentencing. "You may all sit," Mrs. Hale ordered flatly. The board members sat quickly, none daring to lean back. They perched stiffly at the edge of their seats, hands folded neatly on the table, like schoolchildren facing a terrifying teacher. Only Brian remained standing. His face was ghostly pale, sweat soaked through his expensive shirt and seeped into his suit. Mrs. Hale began calmly, her eyes fixed on Brian. "I heard a very passionate presentation about corporate image, about how this company must appear elegant, luxurious, and credible to clients." She picked up the dented plastic water bottle Laura had given her earlier and placed it in the center of the gleaming table. The battered bottle looked painfully out of place among crystal glasses and high-end laptops. "But I discovered something far more interesting about the image of one of my own employees." Her voice was calm, yet suffocating.
a senior staff member who works tirelessly to appear wealthy, wearing suits worth thousands of dollars, treating co-workers to imported steaks. She pointed at the baby bottle that had been knocked to the floor earlier. "Please pick that up, Mr. CEO." The CEO hurriedly retrieved Ethan's bottle and placed it before Mrs. Hale. She lifted it high so everyone could see the cloudy liquid settled inside. His own biological child was forced to drink boiled rice water because his father claimed he had no money. A wave of gasps rippled through the room. The board members whispered among themselves, their gazes fixed on Brian, not with contempt for Laura's poverty, but with disgust at Brian's moral cruelty. That's a lie," Brian stammered, his voice shaking. "My wife is wasteful. She can't manage money. I give her enough. She just spends it on skincare." "Enough." Mrs. Hale smiled faintly and turned toward the HR director. "Mr. Henderson, pull up Brian Ario's salary records. Display them on the projector. Let's do some basic math today." With trembling fingers, the HR director typed rapidly. Seconds later, Brian's full salary details filled the screen. Name, Brian Ario. Position, Senior Marketing Staff. Monthly salary and allowances, $1,250. Last month's bonus, $340. Laura covered her mouth in disbelief. All this time, Brian had told her he earned only minimum wage, that deductions left him with barely $70 a month for gas and food. $70, Mrs. Hale repeated slowly. She turned toward Laura. "Laura, how much household money did your husband give you per month?" Laura lowered her head. Tears fell freely. "About 70 cents a day, ma'am, sometimes less. When I asked for milk money, he yelled at me. He said his salary was cut by the office cooperative." 70 cents? One female director gasped loudly. "That's not even enough to buy a sandwich in this building." The room erupted with murmurs of disbelief. Brian wished the floor would swallow him whole. "Silence." Mrs. Hale raised her hand. The room fell quiet again. "Brian," she said coldly, $70 for your wife and child, while you control thousands of dollars. Where did the rest go? You have no mortgage, you have no car payments, so where did the money go?" Brian said nothing. His legs trembled violently. His eyes flicked nervously toward his phone lying on the table. Mrs. Hale caught the glance instantly. "Confiscate his phone," she ordered the security officers who had just arrived. "And Mr. Henderson, check his payroll account transfers. I want to know exactly where his money goes every month." "No, don't!" Brian lunged for his phone, clutching it tightly. His fear turned feral. "If you open that, I'm finished," he knew, not just for being stingy, but for secrets far darker. "Don't come closer," Brian shouted, backing toward the glass window. "This is my privacy. You have no right." He turned desperately toward Laura. "Laura, tell them I'm a good husband. Say you're the wasteful one. Say it, or I'll jump." A suicide threat, the final manipulation of a coward. Laura stared at him blankly. Her love was long dead, but her humanity hesitated. Before she could speak, the meeting room door burst open again. A young, beautiful woman in designer clothes rushed in, holding a luxury handbag. "Babe, what's all this noise?" she said sweetly. "You said you were transferring the money for the apartment today." Brian's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. Laura turned slowly. She recognized the handbag immediately, the same one she had once seen in Brian's online shopping history, worth more than 2 months of food for Laura and Ethan. Mrs. Hale chuckled softly, a chilling sound. "Well," she said calmly, tapping her cane, "it seems we don't need bank statements. The answer has delivered itself." The silence in the room shattered. The young woman, Vanessa, still had no idea what storm she had walked into. "Babe, why are you just standing there?" Vanessa whined. "The apartment agent keeps calling me." Her heels clicked across the marble floor as she walked in, ignoring Laura's presence completely. To her, Laura and Mrs. Hale were nothing, maybe cleaners or homeless women who wandered in by mistake. "Vanessa, stop," Brian hissed, signaling her to leave. "What? You told me to come pick up the car keys," she pouted. Laura's heart stopped, then pounded painfully. Apartment, new car, keys. Slowly, Laura stood up. She handed Ethan, still asleep, to Mrs. Hale, who received him gently and nodded. "Finish this, my dear." Laura walked toward Vanessa. Her steps were slow, her flip-flops scraping the floor, but the rage radiating from her made the air feel heavy. Vanessa wrinkled her nose in disgust. "Ugh, who is this?" she sneered. "Why does your maid smell so bad? Why is she in the boardroom?" Laura stopped right in front of her. She looked at the designer bag, the shoes, the jewelry, all bought with Brian's money. Money meant for Ethan's milk. "So," Laura said, trembling, but terrifyingly calm, "so this is where my child's milk money went." Vanessa frowned. "What milk money? If you want donations, go ask him," she pointed at Brian. "My boyfriend is rich." Laura laughed bitterly, a sound closer to sobbing. "You're proud to be his girlfriend." "Do I need to know you?" Vanessa scoffed. "I'm his wife." Laura screamed, shook the room. Vanessa stumbled backward in shock. Brian closed his eyes. His apocalypse had arrived. "I am Brian Ario's lawful wife," Laura pounded her chest, "the woman who stood by him when he had nothing, from riding a broken motorcycle to buying you a car." She grabbed the baby bottle filled with rice water and shoved it toward Vanessa's face. "This is what his child drank this morning, rice water, while you demanded an apartment." Vanessa turned pale. She looked at Brian, desperate.
Under the scorching midday sun, Brian's body was tossed onto the hot sidewalk by security, right beside the spot where he usually parked his luxury car. The heat was the first thing he felt as consciousness returned. The burning pavement, the rough concrete scraping his back, the stench of asphalt. Brian groaned and forced his eyes open. The sunlight stabbed his vision. He wasn't in Vanessa's luxury apartment. He wasn't in his ergonomic office chair. He was lying on a dusty sidewalk right outside the building where he used to work. "Hey, don't sleep here. You're blocking the walkway." A black boot nudged his waist. Brian looked up in shock. It was Herman, the lobby security guard, who had greeted him respectfully that morning, now staring down with contempt. Herman, help me," Brian pleaded. Herman spat to the side. "Nope. Chairwoman's orders. You're banned within a 100-meter radius. Get lost. Don't ruin the view." "I'm senior staff," Brian protested weakly. "Former staff," Herman corrected cruelly. "Oh, and the finance people just arrived." He pointed toward the street. Brian turned. His heart dropped. His beloved sedan, the symbol of his success, was being hooked onto a tow truck. "No!" Brian screamed hysterically and stumbled toward it. "That's my car! I'm only 2 months late!" A muscular debt collector blocked him. "Brian Ario, your company just confirmed you no longer work there. Per contract, no salary guarantor, we repossess." "But I can pay later." "With what? Leaves?" the man mocked. The tow truck drove away, dragging his car and his wallet, laptop, and expensive suits inside it. Brian dug into his pockets. Empty.
My phone! Where's my phone? Looking for this? Herman tossed something toward him. Brian caught it clumsily. His phone. The screen cracked. Hands shaking, he turned it on. Hundreds of notifications. Not congratulations, but terror. Credit card bills, online loan threats used to buy Vanessa jewelry. And one message from Vanessa. Vanessa. Don't contact me again. The apartment is sealed. The management said your check bounced. You liar. I thought you were rich. Turns out you're just a flashy staff nobody. We're done. Brian collapsed on the curb. His legs turned to jelly. He dialed Laura. Once. Twice. The number you are calling is unavailable. Laura had blocked him. Forever. 3 months later, Family Court of Cook County, Chicago. The sound of the judge's gavel felt like the most beautiful music Laura had ever heard. By this ruling, the divorce petition filed by Laura Mitchell is granted. Full custody of the child is awarded to the mother. Laura exhaled deeply. Relief flooded her chest. She shook the judge's hands politely and turned. Brian sat slumped at the defendant's table. In 90 days, he had changed completely. Thin, sun-darkened skin, faded shirt hanging loosely. The arrogance was gone, replaced with exhaustion and regret. As Laura passed, Brian jumped up. "Laura, please. I've changed. I work as a porter at the market now. I'm saving money for milk. I miss Ethan. Give me a second chance." Laura stopped. She pulled her hand away gently. She looked at him from head to toe. No hatred remained. Only pity. "It's too late, Brian," she said calmly. "That chance died when you let Ethan drink rice water." "I was tempted. Vanessa seduced me." "Don't blame others for your choices," Laura cut in firmly. "Save your money. Pay your debts. Ethan doesn't need your money anymore. He has a strong mother." She walked away. Outside the courthouse, a comfortable black MPV waited. The rear window rolled down. Mrs. Doris Hale sat inside holding a chubby, healthy Ethan drinking premium formula. "All done, my dear?" she smiled. "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Now let's go to the branch office. My new restaurant manager can't be late on opening day." Laura wasn't given free money. Mrs. Hale gave her a fishing rod, not fish. She trained her in short management courses and trusted her to run one of her restaurant branches. Laura proved that in the right hands, even $1 can become a blessing, unlike Brian, who turned thousands into disaster. The car drove away. Through the rear window, Laura saw Brian exit the courthouse, counting crumpled coins to afford public transport. Rain began to fall, soaking his fragile body. Laura hugged Ethan and kissed his vanilla-scented cheek. "Goodbye, Brian," she whispered in her heart. "May the rain wash away your sins, just as rice water once sustained our child." The car turned the corner. Laura moved toward a bright future. Brian faded into the rain and endless regret.